Sex therapist and educator Marty Klein, PhD, says that people ask him all the time about what normal looks like. His reply is, I say forget the number of times people have sex per month, or how often someone masturbates, or how long it takes to climax. Those averages, he says, they tell you nothing. Knowing that you do not laugh during sex, are too embarrassed to use lubricant, or can't tell your partner, no, not there, here, tells us much more, much, much more. But what does it tell? That the circle of lovers whose hands are joined in a dance can often be a space of bad feelings, hard feelings, shame, blame, resentment, intimidation, pessimism, loneliness. That for some people, says Marty Klein, not failing is the best that sex ever gets. Not failing. We want, he says, and he's right, some combination of pleasure and comfort. But before, during, and after sex, our focus can be on the exact kind of things that kick pleasure and comfort right out the door. The reason why can be summed up in one word: noise. Noise. The music that moves a circle of lovers into sexual dancing, that Marvin Gaye sound, let's get it on, that music. Or in less poetic terms and more physiological terms, the sexual signal that the brain sends down the spinal column into the pelvis, where as a result vasocongestion leads to erection or lubrication. This music, this ecstatic music of sex positivity, it is blocked, it is jammed, it is drowned out, it is depressed. Noise does that to us. Noise. The idea/feeling that sexual desire in general is something dark and dirty and secret and awful. A bias that is confirmed in so many ways by American culture, including, for example, its penchant to say no to sex but yes to violence. Back in 2011, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that a ban on selling violent video games was unconstitutional, but apparently, unconstitutionality does not extend to banning depictions of sexual activity that is perfectly consensual and perfectly nonviolent and perfectly wonderful. Show a head exploding, that's fine. Show a penis, whether erect or whatever, and oh my God, everybody freaks out. That was kind of funny, actually. Come on, just... Or this noise. The idea/feeling that some specific kinds of sex are dark and dirty. Just ask the Georgia legislators in the House and the Senate about House Bill 757, the so-called Religious Liberty Bill, which would have legalized open discrimination against LGBTQ folks, but which thankfully Governor Deal vetoed. And just ask the North Carolina legislators, who framed a comparable bill called House Bill 2, but the governor there didn't veto it. And so now open discrimination in that state is law. Noise, noise, noise. It jams the Marvin Gaye sexual signal and stops the dance. And more. The noise that says only some kind of sex are good, only some kinds. One variation of this noise is that only sex with a partner counts. Masturbation is wrong, is not a valid way to generate pleasure for yourself. So especially if you are younger and you haven't been with a partner yet, well, you better get on the sex train, even though you might not be ready for it. Even though doing so would be very risky for someone your age. You can feel this way even though nature blows raspberries against this anti-masturbation bias. Apes and orangutans and capuchin monkeys, they are champion masturbators. Oh yeah. And so are bottlenose dolphins and killer whales and elephants and walruses and squirrels and bats and iguanas and turtles and penguins and on and on and on. Masturbation is the norm in nature, not the exception. So why do humans create an alternate norm around this? It's noise. And so is this, the noise of the normal. Only normal sex is good. Normal-looking penises, normal-looking vaginas, normal-looking vulvas, all functioning in normal ways that drug companies approve of. All erect or lubricated in normal fashion, and everything marching towards normal orgasms. This is just so fun, But normal can also mean a view of how enlightened men and empowered women look and feel and behave. In this sense, is Beyoncé's sexuality, for example, normal? Does it reflect genuine female empowered sexual expression, or is it merely an internalization of male fantasy? And your answer to this question says something arguably about which wave of feminism you belong to. And consider yet a third sense of normal, which assumes that people's relationship with sex is fairly simple and straightforward. But what if you have been raped? What if you have experienced some kind of sexual violence, whether you're male or female? Your partner's sole focus might be on orgasms, and he makes it sound like that's normal. So what that means is that miles of who you are is left out of the equation. Miles of who you are is left out of the sexual relationship. No room for your heart, no room for your healing. The noise of the normal draws out your authenticity. Keeps that out, pushes that out. And there's still yet more noise to consider. The noise that says, unless sex exhibits perfect genital functioning, it's no good. The noise that says, unless sex culminates in penetration of some kind with orgasm, it's no good. The noise that says, unless the sex I am having is like the sex I had when I was 20, then it's no good. Assuming you were older than 20. The noise that says, unless the conditions of my environment are perfect, no kids in the house, not a single chore to do, I went to the gym and flossed today and so did my partner, then the sex is no good. The noise that says, unless my partner can read my mind, unless I can just say nothing, or at least go no farther than having to say, down there, or it, or then the sex is no good. Noise, noise, noise. And ultimately, with all this noise, the experience of sex becomes one of policing. It becomes one of monitoring. Listen to Marty Klein on this. Many people are watching themselves during sex more than they are experiencing the sex. We usually imagine, harshly judge, and worry about what our partner sees, smells, hears, tastes. It is like trying to enjoy dinner while wearing a brand new expensive white suit. I will add, when you're at an Italian restaurant. Marty Klein goes on to say that what we can also monitor is our partners. They take their partner's functioning personally. Many people scrutinize their partner's arousal and orgasm because they don't want to be judged a failure. They don't want that. But he asks, how can you relax when your partner is examining your sexual response, not in a joyful, attentive way, but with an eye for signs that he or she has failed? How can you relax? All this noise what it really does is it makes for loneliness. It makes for loneliness. Feeling like we are on the outside looking in. Rather than experiencing our authenticity, we are watching and we are judging. Yes, we can learn a tremendous amount from knowing that way too many people do not laugh during sex. They are too embarrassed to use lubrication, or they cannot tell their partner, no, not there, there. And do you know what Unitarian Universalism has to say about all of this? Especially now, in that time of year when the plant world is in furious sexual heat and pollen everywhere is the brash, bold evidence of that. We're in a blizzard of sex right now. What Unitarian Universalism has to say was confirmed at General Assembly in 2012, when Unitarian Universalists from across the world came together to choose reproductive justice as the UUA's next congregational/action focus for 2012 through 2016. Reproductive justice advocacy, says official UUA literature, is grounded in a vision of sex, or rather where sex and bodies are not stigmatized, and a diversity of truths are possible, where we can tell the truth about our lives, where we can learn to hold each other in non-judgmental compassion. Unitarian Universalism says, drown that noise out with love. Subvert that noise. Silence that noise. That noise is not true to the inherent worth and dignity of every human being. That noise is not true to what it means to really live within the interdependent web of all existence. That noise is not true to beloved community, where there is a place at the table not just for people who are young and people who are old and people who are black and people who are white and people who are brown and people who are theists and people who are atheists and people who are abled in one way and people who are abled in other ways, and on and on. It's not just a place for people like that. It is a place for their bodies as well. Their bodies are as welcome as their minds are. Beloved community is embodied community. If beloved community cannot embrace and explore sexuality, then it is not beloved. So Unitarian Universalist beloved community says, enough with the noise. Give us that Marvin Gaye music instead. Give us that instead. Or more specifically, give us sexual intelligence. In his wonderful book with that as its title, Marty Klein defines it as the set of internal resources that allows you to relax, to be present, to communicate, to respond to stimulation, and create physical and emotional connection with a partner. When you can do that, you will have enjoyable sexual experiences regardless of how your body performs, what your body does. Essentially, there are three kinds of internal resources: correct information about sex, emotional skills that enable a person to use that information, and body awareness that brings it all together. And now, we don't have time to explore all of those resources, but we do have time to at least get a good start. Our sexual intelligence grows, says Marty Klein, every time we let a piece of that noisiness go. Every time we turn a source of that noise down. Turn down the noise. That sexual desire in general is something dark and dirty and secret and awful. Masturbation is just healthy and good. And as for sex with a partner, that sex is worthy to stand in the light of day if at least 5 conditions are met. First condition: if a person is truly ready for it, and if it's not just about peer pressure or showing a partner that you care for them or something like that. That's number one. Number two, if a person is truly acting out of respect versus using sex in manipulative, destructive, hurtful ways. Number 3, if a person is taking responsibility for protecting themselves and their partner against pregnancy, if that is the desire, if that is the situation, and also protecting against STDs. Number 4, if a person is fully aware of what is happening, not drunk, for example, and they can always say no. And number 5, if a person is having sex with someone whose power is equal to theirs versus there being a power differential between the partners. Fulfill those 5 conditions, and it does not matter if that sex is gay or straight. It does not matter what the flavor of your kink is. I don't care. That sex is worthy to stand under the light of day. Turn down the noise. Turn down the noise that drowns out all the beautiful music. Turn down the noise of the normal. You know what's truly normal in sex? Here's what's truly normal in sex. It's worrying about being sexually normal. That is what's normal. Normal is also not talking about being worried about these things. That is also normal. Turn down that noise so the music of your authentic self can course down from your brain and through your spine, and you become what Walt Whitman once called the body electric, but in an utterly unique, sexy way that is yours. Also, turn down the noise of moralists who want to tell you what you need, who you need to be in order to be a real man or a real woman or a real feminist. The blogger at Pervocracy, it's kind of an interesting name, Pervocracy. I do lots of interesting reading for you guys. I'm just saying. The blogger at Pervocracy says, some people are asexual. Some people are sexual, but they're just not that much into it. Some people are monogamous, heterosexual, and they're not into kink. Some people have physical or psychological issues that interfere with them having sex or certain kinds of sex. Trying to free any of those people from their repression is ignorant, presumptuous, and the very opposite of promoting sexual freedom. And note how all of that sexual freedom is within the moral bounds that I described just a moment ago, those 5 conditions. Ethically permissible sex is as varied as nature is. It is. Turn down the noise. Allow for diversity. Turn down the noise and welcome your partner in all his or her fullness, including the hurts and the scars. Let there be space in our relationships for honesty about that and for healing. Turn down the noise and imagine how your entire body could be an erogenous zone, how your entire body could be one, not just your genitals. Turn down the noise and enjoy what is happening without having to monitor your progress towards the march towards an orgasm. Just to relax and be in that moment. Enjoy what's happening without monitoring. Turn down the noise and accept what happens as your body ages and the sex changes. It just does. Create space for that. Every age and every stage of life has its unique worth and dignity. It just does. Turn down the noise and know that it is okay not to pay attention to whatever would pull you out of the experience. The dishes are left in the sink, you didn't floss today. For the moment, just let that all go. Let it go. Turn down the noise and acknowledge that a common sexual vocabulary is a part of good sex. Spontaneous fun happens during bike riding. Spontaneous fun happens during picnics, and it happens during lovely dinners. But to get to that spontaneity, there must be planning first. There's got to be some preparation ahead of time. People have to talk. So you talk. Take your partner's hand and show them what you like, and then say, like this. If something feels good, say so. If something does not feel good, never, ever lie. Just say, no thanks. Say, do this instead. Unitarian Universalism wants everybody to be free and fully realized, not on the outside looking in, but immersed in rich experience, not lonely, but known and seen and held. In this interdependent web of all existence, in this springtime, when the pollen everywhere reminds us that the world is torrid with sexuality, Unitarian Universalism says, love the sexuality that is yours. Understand it. Own it. Take care of it. Either just by yourself or shared with another. Let pleasure and comfort be yours. Amen.